All set, Rabbi? Yeah, we have several people. Stay off the wood.
Okay.
If that's better. if you want to take your mask off.
We gathered today, a lot of family and a lot of friends from local, and a lot of family and friends who I understand are gathered from all the corners of the world, from Europe, from Australia, many different places. You guys have a very illustrious family history and amazing awareness of where you came from and where you went in terms of your family tree. And an amazing sense of sticking together and connectedness. And that as much as I just met your family today and I heard for the first time the story of Lilian's life from your family, it really intrigued me to see a family that really knows where they come from. They really appreciate their roots, their background, and how they got to be where they are today in whatever corner of the world. In honor of Lilian, we will recite a few of the Psalms. We'll start with the familiar Psalm 23. First we'll say in Hebrew, then we'll say in English. Mizra David, Adonai Roi Lo Yexar, Bina Isteshach Yarbitzeni, Amei Menuchos Yanachaleni, Nafshi Yeshovev Yancheni V'Maglei Tzedek Laman Shemo, Gam Ki Elach B'Geit Somaves, Lo Yira Ra Ki Ata Imadi, Shiftecha Umishantecha, Hema Yanachamoni, Parach Lefanai Shulchan Neged Sarai, Dishante V'Shem and Roshi, Kosi Ravaya, Aktov V'Chased Yerdefuni, Kol Yemei Hayai, V'Shavti B'Beis Adonai, V'Orach Yamin. Please say together with me if you wish, in English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in right paths for his name's sake. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff comfort me. Thou hast set before me a table in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It's also our custom to read what is known as the Eshes Chayil, the Woman of Valor. It's a special selection of verses from the book of Proverbs, which describes all the amazing accolades of the Jewish woman, her commitment to her family, for never giving up taking care of them, always being there, the true sense of Yiddish mama encapsulated in the Hebrew text. Our custom is that many times on the Friday night table, on the Shabbos table, after all the hard work has been done, all the preparation is made for the Sabbath, we look at the mother of the house to say thank you and to appreciate her. We all sing to her this special selection. V'takam b'yoy layla, v'titeref l'veisar l'chotna rosecha, zama masade v'tikapechu, v'pri kapech natu karem, hagra b'yoz masnecha, v'tamez rosecha, tamma kitay sachra, lo yefte v'layla, ne'v'defto shilcha v'kishor, v'kapecha samtufale. Kappa Barsaliani, Veyanechal Shilcha Le'evyon L'sira L'beisa Mishalek, Kigo Beisa L'Hoshani, Marvadi Masisala, Sheishvar Gvanlusha, Laida Bishari Vala, Bishifto Ehim Tikne Yaret Sadi Masavetimkar, Vechagnas Nuknani, Oz Bahadar L'Vusha, Letispa Kleyam Acharai, Bika Aspa V'Hachma, V'Sairas Hasid Al L'Shayim Tzvi, Analik Light Mesa, V'Lachim Asus Yisrael, Tamu V'Henta V'Yeshura, V'Ala V'Ye Havla Rabus Vanus Asofas Chayu, V'Yatali Sakulana, Sheker Achein V'Hevel Ayoyti, Isha Yiras Adainai, Isis Halal Tenula, V'Pri Yadecha, V'Halcha, V'Shari Masecha. An accomplished woman who can find far beyond pearls is her value, Her husband's heart relies on her, and he shall lack no fortune. She repays his good and never his harm all the days of her life. She seeks out wool and linen, and her hands work willingly. She is like a merchant ship, from afar she brings sustenance. She rises well as nighttime and gives food to her household. She envisions a field and buys it. From the fruit of her handiwork, she plants a vineyard. With strength she girds her loins and invigorates her arms. She discerns her enterprise is good, so her lamp is not snuffed out by the night. She spreads out her palm to the poor. She fears not snow, for her household is clothed in scarlet wool. She makes a cloak to sell and delivers a belt to the peddler. Strength and majesty are her raiment. She joyfully awaits the last day. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the lesson of kindness is on her tongue. She anticipates the ways of her household, and partakes not of the bread of laziness. Her children arise and praise her. Her husband, he lauds her. Many daughters have amassed achievements, but you have surpassed them all. False is grace, and vain is beauty. A God-fearing woman, she should be praised. Give her the fruits of her hands, and let her be praised in the gates by her very own deeds. It's important Jewish custom at the time of the funeral to offer eulogies. The reason we offer the eulogies is one, so that the person who's passed away, whose soul is present with us, so the soul can hear the words. The soul can say to itself, I'm so glad they noticed me. They remembered me. They will continue to appreciate me. They really got who I was. And that gives a lot of comfort and peace to the one who has passed away. It's also meant to be an inspiration to us, reminding us that you can do a lot in a lifetime. You can accomplish great things, even in difficult circumstances. So hopefully we fulfill both of these senses, and we do true justice and we give true honor to our most beloved Lilian Marsh Stern. As I alluded to before, I didn't have the grace of knowing her, but the rabbi who happened to meet her, who had the blessing of this special meeting, is a unique rabbi. A rabbi who's full of energy and zeal, very outgoing, Rabbi A.J. Kushner. And so I can imagine the scene, this rabbi who's like 6'5", a big guy, he walks into her room, says hello. And from my understanding of the story, she was very friendly, she was very pleasant. And even though she wasn't feeling well, she wasn't very strong, she invited him for a cup of tea. She wanted to have him over and tell him some stories and sit down with him. And he was telling me that they had a nice conversation, they planned to see each other later, but unfortunately, he got the news that she had suddenly passed away. And he was really disappointed. And the rabbi is unfortunately not able to be here to tell the rest of the story, but he was able to share a few details with me that were very important. But in particular, I felt very connected to Lilian through her son. I think anyone who speaks to Jeff wishes that the date didn't have hours and the calendar didn't have months. Because you can speak to Jeff about anything, and he can tell you everything you want to know and a lot more. And every subject in life is truly intriguing. Certainly his mother's history and the history of his great family is certainly so intriguing, and he has taken the time to figure it out and to follow out in so many details. He gave me a little bit of an overview that, if I may, share with you, and then he will certainly expand, and other people who are here with us today on the Zoom will also expand. So one thing he said was his mother was a very courteous person. She always wanted to get along with people. She always wanted to present a very good outer image. And in the way that she was raised, the way you held your fork, the way that you walked, the way you talked, the way you spoke to people was deeply important. And even though she spent many a decade in the United States of America, where we become quite chill, quite accustomed to not being so formal, she never let those ways get upon her. Always making sure she did the right thing and the proper thing. What's amazing, though, is that you would think, with her personality and the way she carried herself, that she came from very, wealthy, privileged, easygoing roots, and it was this perhaps background that made her a proper, prim, high expectations person. But it's really not at all like that. She came from a very poor family with roots in Poland, who came and left horrible situations to come to London, only to suffer very much, to suffer from not having sufficient employment, suffering from hunger, and certainly suffering from multiple intrusions of war and bombs and destruction on their world. A big family trying to make it work in a difficult time. But her philosophy in life was, as hard as life gets, you don't have an excuse to be weaker. You don't have an excuse to do less. it's an obligation to do more. And that was a lot of the times that's how she felt. She lived in a world where she saw too often that people didn't try as hard as they could have. People didn't give it their all. People kind of let down their guard sometimes because things were hard. And her lesson was always, you don't do that. If life gets hard, you get stronger, and then you get better. And one of the things she was very proud about was her English background. And I think it wasn't so much because of the country of England, but it was just the way of being a person, the personality of an English person, that you don't complain. And she held on to her English citizenship until early 70s, many, many decades of keeping it. So one of the other things I just wanted to share, which I know that Jeff elaborated upon, is just the history of her family. And that one of the things that really touched me was that you can watch online, you can watch the testimony of her brother Morris. And so he spoke to an interviewer who asked him question after question after question for 2.5 hours. And he had such incredible clarity about every single detail. And so it was really clear, like everything that he said, was the way he was raised, the way his parents were, the way he was, raised to be focused in Judaism. And Judaism is important, the family is important. These were lessons that clearly were super important lessons in the whole family. And they certainly stuck with him, and they certainly stuck with Lilian as well. So I wanted to thank you guys for the opportunity, for the honor of being able to share just a few words. But now I will call upon Jeff, who will elaborate some more on the special relationship that he had with his mother.
Just from a son's perspective of his mother, just a couple of pieces. I was really, really enamored of Lilian's English background. She had a club, they called themselves the English Club, and these were all immigrants who came here after the war. And they used to have meetings in different members' homes. So, maybe over the course of the year, they'd have a couple of meetings at our family home in South Utah. And I was really fascinated by it. So I would sit on the stairs going up to the second floor and listen and watch. It was really fascinating in the sense of otherness, that they spoke differently, they had different perspectives of looking at things. They all were drinking tea English style. My dad, who was a bartender for a while, did the mixing of gin and tonic and various other types of beverages that they liked to have. And then they would start singing and end up dancing. And I remember the fascination of just watching them do Knees Up Mother Brown, which is not exactly the can-can, it's sort of an English type. And that was just fascinating. That was not a piece of life that other kids in the neighborhood had. In first or second grade, there was like show and tell. I think they call it presentations now, but the students would bring in an object or a book or a tool or a cooking implement and make a presentation to the class about it, talking about it, showing it, how do you use it, what do you do with it. And I was so fascinated by Lilian's English club and her English perspective that I had Lilian as my show and tell. And so I got dressed up and made sure her accent was on. And she came in and talked about growing up in England and going through the Blitz in 1940, and the buzz bomb, the rocket bomb, and doing work in a war factory. And some lighter kind of perspectives growing up in England compared to adult here. Yeah, all this quite which one? Like horizontal stripes on it, where the first space would be the height of your lowercase, when you're just learning how to do cursive, and then double space for the upper part of the root, the capitals. So there are like 25 and not correct any of them. So they were as good, but graders, and she kept those. So they moved out of their house in Southview, but I think I probably still have that collection in the basement at home. But she kept those for decades, so she really enjoyed that. So that was part of her sort of outward face. Another part was this sort of toughness that she had, which the rabbi had mentioned. She went through the same thing about life in London before, and she used to sleep in the deep part of the tubes, the underground. Told me it wasn't because she was afraid of getting blown up; it was because the noise, searchlights, the sound, fragments coming down from anti-aircraft guns kept them up too late. Couldn't get any sleep, so she went down to the deep parts of the underground. Came up the next morning and went out to work, and people would do that unless their workplace had been bombed out, in which case they would then help clean up debris and use a broom on the sidewalk and march on. And so she was always sort of criticizing how soft we were in this country because that wasn't the same spirit that Londoners could take it. So that was another part of her sort of outside face. But from family point, the inside face that I saw did not have toughness generally. Her was a Jewish mother, and that was like the last coherent discussion I had with her, which was something like, "Hi, Mom, how you doing today?" You know, on an iPad they have the video conferences, but I haven't seen her live since like the first week of March, and we had 2 FaceTimes every week. So Tuesday, how you doing today, Mom? And she was kind of bruised up. She took a fall over the weekend, and I won't say she wanted falls, but she didn't want to be on full anti-falling precautions because she wanted to be able to get up and sit in the chair by herself, watch TV by herself. And, there was always risk of falling. Happened from time to time. She's kind of banged up. She didn't complain to me about it. Hi, Mom, how you doing? She didn't complain about her situation. Rather, what she said to me is, "Are you sick? Sounds like you got a sore throat." That was the first thing she said to me. And of course, she was exactly spot on. I did indeed have a sore throat and a cold last week. That was what she focused on. So those are just sort of 2 pieces of art from when I was like 8 years old and fascinated by Knees Up, Mother Brown. And then the last conversation I had with her, she was correctly assessing from my voice that I was sick. And so those are just two perspectives from a son's point of view. She had both her outside face and then the inside one. And so I saw each. But she did enjoy making a presentation for the grades to the students and kept those thank you letters for decades. That's 2 pieces I wanted to share.
Jeff, it was a challenge to say those few words because I know you would have told us a lot more stories. I do have the time. But we know we all have access to you on the phone and we can ask you. But I believe you have a few people on Zoom, who might be interested in saying a few words. So if you are interested, please go ahead and unmute your Zoom and we can put the microphone up to the phone so everybody can hear.
Folks, if some of you were going to speak, go ahead, unmute your phone and go ahead and speak. Is anyone trying to speak? I'm trying to see if I can raise your hand or wave in front of the camera.
We just closed by reading a little bit from her obituary. Our beloved Lilian Stern, she was 100. She would have been 101 in just one more month. She passed away on October 8th, 2020. She was born November 14th, 1919. Beloved wife of the late Melvin Stern, who's buried here, but Mayor Dove, then Mordecai, the devoted mother of Jeffrey, and his wife Suzanne. Our condolences to them, and also to their daughter Leah. She was dear sister of Henry, whose wife is here, and Morris, Mark, Sydney, Bessie, Faye, Dora, Philip, and Sam. I just want to conclude with some words from the weekly portion. This week's portion is the portion of Bereshit, of Genesis. And one of the most interesting things, if you were to ask a person, what is the first book of the Torah, it's really not fair to say it's the first book. Because what happened is that just yesterday we had Simchas Torah. We celebrated the completion of the Torah, but we didn't wait 1 second. As soon as we finished the last verse in Deuteronomy and Devarim, we began anew with Bereshit bara. In the beginning, God created. And so, what is the idea? The idea is that in life, there's really no beginning, there's no end. Where we came from is deeply connected to where people came before us. That life is situated in such a way that there's no breaks and there's no openings. Is that the commitment, the contribution that was made to us by our parents directly went into who we are, and that in turn directly went into who we will become to our children. And that there's a Jewish idea that everyone wants to achieve eternity. That we all wish that we could live forever, that we could have a life that never ends. Because all the things we want to do are all our goals. These are unaccomplished. We're never able to fulfill. But there's an idea. It says in the verse, it says, Ladar vadar, olanetzach netzachim. From generation to generation, eternity of eternities. And in the Jewish sense, that's really how we achieve this eternity. Because we cannot accomplish the goals that we have in this world so well. But what can we do? Is we can work on them. We can try. And we can give a sense of that personality, of that being, of those character traits to our children. They hopefully will take over from us and take what we were, and take what we had. And so that is the sense that our goals and our purposes. And so the goals of Melvin and Lilian, they certainly had their children, their grandchildren. And I see, as much as Jeff says, is very humble, he's a pretty tough person. And he sounds like he really is hard on himself. He expects the most from himself. He wants to do the best he can. And he doesn't give up. He's very much like his mother. And so at times it might have been hard for her to deal with the world and all of its challenges. He certainly was able to take that character trait of not giving up and continuing and applying it to how it's able to do it. We think about her, listen, her life, we will not continue to cease to appreciate and give her thanks for all that she gave us. She certainly taught us so much and gave us so much in her lifetime. So we thank her and we honor her. close the service today with the recitation of the memorial prayer. The memorial prayer is that we pass on our loved ones from this world to the next world. We pass them on to God in His protective wings, but He should in turn watch over them and keep them safe and keep them taken care of. El Mali Rachamim, Shaychein Bamrubim, Amsei Menuchana Haina, Al Kanfei Hashkina, Vimalois Kedoshim Utaharim, Kazarakia Matim, Es Nishmas, Lilian, Bas Yaakov, Afraid of Peril, Shahalachala Ilama, Bavor Shanachnu Nispalim Bahaskas Nishmaso, Began Aiden Teit Menuchasa, Lachain Bal Harachamim, Yastirechu B'Seisa Kanafav Le'olamim, V'Yitzor B'Torah Chaim Es Nishmaso, Adonai Hu Nachalaso, V'Sanoach HaMishlevo B'Shalom, V'Nermar, Amen. O God, full of mercy, who dwells on high, grant proper rest on the wings of divine presence, the lofty levels of the pure ones who shine like the glow of the firmament, for the soul of our most beloved Lilian, the daughter of Jacob and Frida, who has gone to all the hungry bread. May a resting place be in the Garden of Eden. May the Master of Mercy shelter her in the shelter of the wings of eternity. May He bind her soul in the bond of life. God is her heritage, and may she repose in peace on a resting place. We say together, Amen. Now we move to the most important part, in some ways, of the funeral, which is the ability to give to her a physical gift of our care and our loving. And it's not the easiest thing to do, to take some earth and to place in a person's casket. It's the real sounds and emotions are difficult, but it's a time to show her how much we care about her. So in the Jewish custom, we take a small amount of earth, we place it on top of the casket, and we want her to be surrounded by our efforts. Our care effectively puts her to rest, her eternal rest. So now we call upon the family. Maybe Jeff will take by hand if you prefer. If people are concerned about the germs, they're certainly welcome to just take a small amount in their hand and place it, or instead use a shovel. So if folks want to go ahead and make a line by the shovel and place a little bit into the grave. Now we've completed our obligations, giving sweet words of appreciation and honor and thanks, especially this world, earthly needs, and making sure that she was honored and attended to. We now close with a mention of the mourners. That one of the most important parts of the funeral service is not just to acknowledge the one who has passed away, but to give comfort and to give our strength and blessings to those who are the mourners. We don't have enough people to say the mourners Kaddish, so that's something we will leave to a later time. But I just wanted to close with a special reading that I feel is very special and very meaningful. Once we close with this particular reading, I want to be able to give an opportunity to the mourners, to both Jeffrey and his wife, as well as to her sister-in-law. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a row of people after we finish with the funeral service, kind of along the way there. The two rows of people who are facing each other will walk the mourners. And as the mourners walk in between those two rows, we will give them our special blessing and the traditional Jewish words of comfort. I wanted to read to you a section which is called "To Those I Love and Those Who Love Me." It's a very special poem to me. It was written by a person who he himself had very little time to live. And he wanted to leave words of strength and words of guidance to those people who he left behind. He writes, "When I am gone, release me, let me go. I have so many things to see and to do. You mustn't tie yourself to me with tears. Be happy that we had precious years. I gave you my love. You can only guess how much you gave to me in happiness. I thank you for the love you each have shown, but now it's time I traveled on alone. So grieve a while for me, if grieve you must, then let your grief be comforted by trust. It's only for a while, but we must part, so bless the memories within your heart. I won't be far away, for life goes on, so if you need me, call, and I will come. Though you can't see or touch me, I'll be near. I'll have my love around you, soft and clear. And when you must come this way alone, I'll greet you with a smile and say, welcome. So with that, we're going to close the service. We thank the people who are present with us on Zoom for connecting to us at probably a very strange, a very late hour of the day. And we wish our dear Lilian our fondest memories and our fondest thanks. And we pray together that her memory should be for a blessing. Zichrona lebracha. We're going to go ahead and make two rows, like I said, on the way out there. Maybe I'll just take your look. I hope you hear it. Just right left. Yeah. Yeah. Well, people.